My name is Samantha. I work from home and live alone. However, there are people who seem to unnecessarily interfere in my daily life. They are known as my son Daniel and his wife Ariane. To be honest, there's no blood relation between Daniel and me. When I married my husband, who is 5 years older than me, he already had a child, Daniel, from his previous marriage. I was informed that he had a child from his previous relationship. However, I never expected that I would be raising him in my daily life. I thought his previous wife would be playing that role. Shortly after I started taking care of Daniel, I became pregnant with a new child. This child, of course, was born between me and my husband. The child I gave birth to, Aaron, was considered the second son in our family. I loved Aaron deeply and thought I treated both Daniel and him equally. However, it seems Daniel felt differently.
Maybe she doesn't truly love me because we don't share a blood bond.
Recently, Daniel has been saying things like this in front of many people. For instance, one day he stood in a toy store, wanting a particular toy for over 30 minutes. When I cautioned him, he said the same thing. I felt that Daniel harbored some feelings because of our lack of blood connection, but I never thought he would express it so openly in public. At first, I thought he said it in the heat of the moment, but he kept repeating it in public places, different from how he acted at home. Gradually, I became self-conscious and reduced our outings together. On the other hand, when I went out with only Aaron, I was worried it would unsettle Daniel even more, so I eventually asked Aaron and Daniel to stay at home while I went out alone to do errands. When I shopped alone, Daniel didn't complain, and I could select and buy what I needed with ease. This brief time became my valuable respite and refreshing moment. However, one day, this peace was disrupted.
How about taking Daniel and Aaron out shopping once in a while to get some fresh air?
My husband, who usually shows little interest in daily child rearing, suddenly made this suggestion. In my mind, I thought, if you feel that way, why don't you take them yourself? But the thought of Daniel saying something like she's not my real mother, that's why she's cold in front of me, saddens me. I always believed that the kids wouldn't intentionally hurt others. So, I never imagined that Daniel was acting out to intentionally hurt my feelings. In fact, when I take Daniel and Aaron shopping, especially Daniel, he often throws unreasonable demands and criticizes me. Then, one day when Daniel became a middle schooler, an incident that pushed me to my limits occurred. I came home from shopping to find Aaron's uncontrollable crying echoing throughout the house. Daniel's shoes weren't inside, indicating he'd clearly gone out. Concerned, I entered the living room and saw fragments of a broken game console on the floor and Aaron crying in pain. There was a small injury on his head. Shocked, I quickly decided to head to the hospital. After Aaron stabilized at the hospital, he told me that Daniel tried to take away the game he was playing. When Aaron resisted, they collided, resulting in the injury. Daniel's actions were escalating, not just affecting me, but also involving his younger brother, Aaron. That night, considering Aaron's safety, we decided to urgently return to my parents' home. My husband, completely taken by surprise, was shocked by our sudden departure and the fact that we left Daniel behind.
Why did you suddenly go back to your parents' house? And why did you leave Daniel here? Don't you feel your responsibility as a mother?
He raised his voice and questioned me. I explained the hardships I'd faced all this time and my feelings after this incident over the phone. Every time I went shopping with Daniel, I was exhausted by his repeated demands and tantrums. Moreover, when I reprimanded him, he would use the fact that we're not blood related to criticize me, deeply hurting me. Experiencing such statements from Daniel repeatedly made me avoid joint activities with him. And now, Aaron got hurt in the process. The child you fathered after our marriage is also a precious member of the family to me. However, recognizing Daniel as a family member while he intentionally hurts me and Aaron is causing an immense internal conflict. Additionally, my dissatisfaction and disappointment with my husband's attitude of solely relying on me for parenting and roles were steadily increasing. Do you realize the mental strain we mother and child feel living with you? Aaron struggles to even predict what kind of action he will get from Daniel next. Hurting others is an unacceptable behavior. Moreover, Daniel doesn't show any remorse for his actions and has even left home. Living with a middle schooler who doesn't even have the feeling of an apology is very challenging for me. I understand that Daniel was young and immature at the time, but still a child. However, his actions towards Aaron, whom I've raised with all my love, deeply hurt my heart. My true desire was to equally pour love into both Daniel and Aaron, treating them with fairness. Yet, my patience was gradually wearing thin with Daniel's continued behavior and attitude. When I proposed the divorce, my husband initially strongly opposed it. Surprisingly, even though he had hardly been considerate of the family so far, he seemed to resent the sudden talk of divorce.
If I get divorced twice, my reputation and position at work will be tarnished.
He seemed concerned. For that reason, I boldly notified his workplace about the situation. I believe that once the information leaked, his concerns regarding his work position would not influence the decision of divorce. Also, I had some acquaintances at his workplace, so this news quickly spread throughout the company. My husband criticized my action as being extremely radical. However, my primary concern was Aaron's safety. At that time, I deeply felt that I should take any means necessary to protect Aaron. Overcoming such a situation, we chose to divorce, and I have been raising Aaron with all my love by myself. Surely, the fact that Daniel is my child doesn't change. But if possible, I strongly wish to completely forget about his existence and never interact with him again. However, ironically, there are times when contact with those you want to avoid cannot be avoided. This spring, I received an unexpected phone call. The phone kept ringing, and before I could answer, it switched to the voicemail, and I heard a familiar voice, Daniel's.
Mom, it's me. I'm sorry for not contacting you for so long. Actually, I'm in a relationship with someone, with marriage in mind, and I want you to come to the wedding.
His slightly nervous voice was clearly recorded on the voicemail. However, Daniel never mentioned marriage, and there were no signs of him introducing a girlfriend to the family. At first, I suspected this was some kind of new scam, and while I was worrying about it, I received a call from my ex-husband, from the same line as before. "Why are you calling now? We've already settled the child support issue, and there's nothing else for us to discuss. Do you need something?" I asked, surprised and a bit annoyed.
It's about the ceremonies. Daniel, he seems to have decided to get married.
He informed me. It made sense for him to speak so cautiously. One of the major reasons for our divorce was Daniel and the events surrounding him. My ex-husband was well aware of the complex feelings both I and Aaron have towards Daniel. He probably called because he was concerned about my reaction. Is he really getting married? Memories of the suspicious call earlier resurfaced. Even if it was temporary, I was his mother. He probably thought it would be rude to not have his mother present at such an important occasion as his wedding. Tell me the truth. Is he asking me to attend his wedding?
Yes, exactly. Daniel specially requested it. Samantha, he really wants you to come to his wedding.
At that request, I was both surprised and smirked sarcastically. But why does he ask me? After we parted, you should have spent a lot of time with him and your new partner, right? Why not ask her to play the role of the mother?
That's the problem. The woman I married later clearly stated that she didn't want to be involved in raising a child. Consequently, Daniel enrolled in a boarding school since high school and lived independently in college. So, the connection between my current wife and Daniel is actually very minimal.
Hearing his words again, I was reminded of the challenges he faced as a father. How could he, who couldn't even properly take care of a child, manage to gain custody from his previous wife? His former wife was highly trusted at work and managed daily household chores. Considering that, I couldn't understand why she didn't get custody of the child.
Please think about our future, especially for Daniel.
I paused, sighed deeply, and decided to attend the wedding. Considering how hurtful it would be for him to be rejected on such an important day, I felt sorry for him. I faintly hoped that maybe with time, Daniel would mature and grow into a responsible adult. However, considering he is the child of her ex-husband, I couldn't keep her hopes up. I had no intention of greeting anyone, but my ex-husband spotted me and approached me, insisting I greet the bride.
At least say a word to the bride.
Thus, I was compelled to visit the bride's waiting room. When Ariana, the bride, saw me, her eyes lit up, and she smiled warmly.
You must be Daniel's mother, my mother-in-law, right? I've heard a lot about you from Daniel.
The realization that Ariana knew about me through Daniel stirred curiosity and a bit of unease in my heart.
I'm quite busy today, but would you like to have sushi with me another day and chat?
In fact, Aaron is the only person I recognize as my true son in my heart. I felt a bit odd being called mother-in-law by a woman who wasn't even dating her son, but Ariana's warm invitation felt comforting. Sushi sounds lovely. I'll take you up on that offer. After exchanging contact details with Ariana, I returned to the main hall to enjoy the party. My ex-husband's bragging about getting me to attend was irksome, but I shook it off, hoping the day would end peacefully. I had informed Aaron in advance about his half-brother's wedding. However, Aaron's reaction was lukewarm.
Actually, I never received an invitation to the wedding. I guess they didn't want me there. So, I won't be going.
Continuing, he said he had no plans to attend, and indeed, at the venue, there was no seat or name tag for Aaron. It was clear my ex-husband had overlooked him. A few days after the ceremony, I received a message from the bride, Ariana, suggesting that we go out for sushi. During our conversation on Facebook, Ariana hinted at something with a hidden implication.
Your mother-in-law works from home, right? And you're currently living alone? Considering that, I imagine it might be hard for you to have proper meals usually. How about enjoying some premium sushi when you're with us?
I sensed a condescending tone in her words. As a retort, I said, actually, I've wanted to try this famous sushi place for a while, and mentioned a well-renowned sushi restaurant. Accepting Ariana's invitation, I waited outside the sushi restaurant on the day. As the sunlight slowly faded, I impatiently paced, observing the surrounding scenery and parsing people. After a while, Daniel and Ariana appeared, happily arm in arm in front of the sushi shop. The moment Daniel spotted me, his expression turned to one of surprise. He seemed to ponder for a moment before quickly speaking.
Wait, why is she here? Wasn't today supposed to be a special day for me and Ariana?
I was so taken aback that I lost my words. Then Ariana, standing next to him, deliberately gave me a sly glance. She also appeared surprised at my presence, and after thinking a bit, she addressed me.
Though right. Today was our special day, so I booked this restaurant. But why are you here?
Confused but trying to remain calm, I responded. Well, Ariana, I actually received an invitation from you to come to this sushi restaurant, so that's why I'm here. At that, Ariana seemed momentarily taken aback, but then started chuckling.
The reservation I made for this sushi restaurant was just for Daniel and me. We haven't secured seats for anyone else. So, could you at least leave your wallet here and go?
That's a pretty bold proposal, but it's kind of fun.
Daniel exclaimed excitedly. I just couldn't comprehend the reason behind their behavior. All right, but don't complain later if something happens. I took out my wallet, after removing important cards that didn't carry personal information, and handed it to Ariana. Daniel and Ariana seemed quite surprised by my actions. Their eyes widened in astonishment, yet they both accepted the wallet.
I have absolutely no regrets.
Given the thickness of this wallet, it seems you somehow managed to gather funds to enjoy some upscale sushi. However, it's quite pitiful that you didn't reserve a seat. We'll thoroughly enjoy it for you.
Ariana smirked as she said this. After that, they both happily entered the sushi restaurant. As I had planned beforehand, I wedged something in the sushi restaurant's door to make it difficult to open from the inside, then hung a closed sign at the entrance. A couple of hours later, while I was at a nearby cafe, my phone rang. It was Ariana. What happened?
I have no idea why you were being called the mother-in-law. What on earth happened? When we tried to pay the sushi chef, the bill was much more than we expected. Not only that, but the wallet we used for the payment was pointed out by the chef to be the one Daniel had previously given to you. To top it off, instead of real bills, the wallet was filled with chocolate.
Ah, that. Indeed. When you two told me to hand over my wallet, I gave it without checking its contents. Honestly, I had no idea it was filled with chocolates.
You did this on purpose, didn't you?
Of course, I have absolutely no reason to pay for Daniel and Ariana, and you two seem to have trusted the contents of my wallet and enjoyed sushi until you were full. That sushi restaurant is a bit pricier than regular conveyor belt sushi restaurant. However, unexpectedly, the wallet I gave you had nothing in it that could be used as cash. I can't believe this situation, I mused internally, feeling that they still hadn't realized the true intention behind why I specifically chose the sushi restaurant. By the way, I'm currently dating the sushi chef. When I talked to him, he promised that if I came to the restaurant with him, the fee would be half off, but if I'm not accompanying, regular charges apply.
Wait a minute. So when we reserved over the phone, the half price was applicable only if you came with us?
Exactly. If you had paid careful attention to the chef's words, you wouldn't have left me at the entrance. I found the situation quite amusing and had to suppress my giggles internally. Meanwhile, from the other end of the phone, I could hear, "Why aren't you paying? You should pay for the sushi you ate." It seemed there was a heated argument between Daniel and the sushi restaurant's master chef. I had already planned to block the entrance and exit of the sushi restaurant, so they couldn't easily escape. Ariana, you seem to misunderstand. Just because I chose to work remotely doesn't mean I'm struggling financially. In fact, I get along well with the sushi chef because something clicked over the course of many visits. Don't you think you need a certain income to visit that upscale sushi restaurant regularly?
But, mother-in-law, based on what Daniel told me, considering the reason you work remotely, the complex relationship with your father-in-law, and the work environment, I didn't think you're into high income?
Really? It seems Daniel portrayed me negatively, judging from his words and past actions. He might be speaking ill of me not just to you, but to my ex-husband, other relatives, and even your parents. However, I don't see myself getting deeply involved with you or Daniel in the future, so how you both feel isn't a significant concern to me. Actually, Daniel has had a very complex personality since he was a child. He often acted in ways that emotionally hurt me and my younger brother, whom I gave birth to. We even suffered physical damage. Unable to bear his behavior, I thought of my brother's future and decided to cut ties with Daniel. That was the reason for our divorce.
I wasn't informed about this deep background from Daniel or father-in-law.
They tend to hide their actions, especially facts that could put them at a disadvantage. I believe that this recent incident was Daniel's plan to harass me like before and derive some kind of satisfaction from it. I feel that his fundamental personality since middle school hasn't changed, and since you were part of his plan, you might have something in common with him. In the end, after our divorce, my ex-husband faced a tough environment at his previous workplace. He had no choice but to look for a new job. The salary at his new workplace was much lower than expected, making it difficult for Daniel to pursue the college education he desired. As a result, Daniel doesn't recognize his failure to progress in education as his mistake, and he might be trying to blame and punish me for it. However, I am not the same person who would just accept it as before. Listen, if you ever dare to harm me or Aaron again, or commit any unpleasant acts towards us, I won't hesitate to call the police. Be prepared for that. And even in this current situation, even after you've eaten all the sushi you wanted, if you refuse to pay, you do realize that's considered dining and dashing, a legal offense, right? When I warned with a stern tone, on the other side of the phone, Ariana repeatedly said,
I'm truly sorry.
She kept apologizing sincerely. She was probably heavily influenced by Daniel, leading her to show temporary emotions and actions towards me. However, she likely didn't intend to genuinely harm me or Aaron. Daniel, on the other hand, doesn't seem like the type to act with premeditation, but rather moves based on his emotions in the moment. By the way, are you thinking that you can leave this restaurant without paying in this situation?
I'm truly very sorry. I will contact my parents and resolve this issue. Please, don't report to the police.
I quickly ended the call, but Ariana immediately reached out to her parents, asking them to come to address the situation. To my surprise, Ariana's parents, who had been fooled by Daniel's words and accused me, found out the truth and were extremely upset on the spot. I sternly scolded two of them for their childish behavior this time. The sushi bill was eventually paid, but Ariana's father ended up covering the payment, leaving Ariana with a debt to her father. Even my ex-husband, who had been turning a blind eye to Daniel's careless actions until now, is facing criticism from those around him due to this incident. Currently, among the relatives, Daniel, the ex-husband, and even Ariana are being treated coldly. After these events have settled down, when I told Aaron the details, he remained surprisingly calm,
That must have been really tough.
and then made a surprising confession.
Actually, I have someone I'd like to introduce to you soon. But there's really nothing to worry about. She's not the kind of person who would cause problems like Daniel's wife.
I was surprised by this unexpected statement, but I'm looking forward to meeting the woman Aaron will bring.